Turnbull, BBC News at the White House.
3:15, here are the headlines on News 24. Saddam Hussein is to address the Iraqi people this morning after the latest standoff over weapons inspections. The British Royal Navy aircraft carrier Invincible is being sent to the region. A device planted outside a Sainsbury's supermarket in West London is thought to be the work of the Mardi Gras bomber. And the Health Secretary, Frank Dobson, says in a newspaper interview this morning that he is to scrap the policy of community care. You're watching BBC News 24.
Can you distinguish the man from the politician?
It wasn't just to save ourselves. I could have still been president today.
Separate the opportunist from the radical.
Legality is in the eye and the mind of the lawmaker.
Define discussion from the soundbite.
We must remember, human rights is not a monopoly of the West.
Discover the life behind the image. For the daily international interview, the choice is Hard Talk. Today at 3:30 a.m. on BBC News 24 and BBC One.
Now some news just in from Australia. Britain's tennis star Tim Henman has failed in his attempt to win the Sydney International this morning. Henman lost 7-5, 6-4 to Slovakia's Karol Kuchera, despite leading 4-love in the first set. And now with the rest of the sport, here's Karen Mullally.
Hello again. It was hard work, but England's cricketers have made steady progress on the first day of their tour match against Jamaica in Montego Bay. They closed on 179 for 5 after rain stopped play early, with Graham Thorpe top scorer on 41 not out.
Batting was always a battle on what can only be described as a very poor pitch. The ball sometimes flew from a length and also shot straight along the ground. In fact, it's debatable whether the experience will actually have helped prepare England's batsmen for the first test one bit. However, they all got stuck in, determined to make the best of it, and although Stewart gloved a flyer to slip for 1 in the 4th over, Atherton with 28, Crawley 25, he was run out, and Hussain 15, all occupied the crease, the runs coming at a snail's pace. Thorpe has batted almost 3 hours for his 41 not out, and the brightest innings of the day came from Holyoke. He made 40 from 72 balls. He came in as England lost 3 wickets for 22 runs and did his chances of playing at Sabina Park no harm at all. Russell, who also looked set to play, hopped about for more than an hour for 14, and when rain ended play early, he and Thorpe had added 41 precious runs.
First Division Stoke City have ended their run of 11 games without a win after coming back from a goal down to beat Bradford 2-1 at the Britannia Stadium. John McGinley put the visitors ahead. A penalty by Richard Forsyth and a goal by Peter Thorne gave Stoke all 3 points. One other match to tell you about in the third division. Colchester beat Torquay 1-0. The winning goal from Tony Locke just 4 minutes from time. Now, London Scottish have withdrawn their citation against Bath hooker Federico Mendes. Mendes was originally cited by Scottish along with the rest of Bath's front row players following the alleged ear-biting injury to their flanker Simon Fenn. Mendes and Victor Uboga are no longer under suspicion. Kevin Yates is now the only player being cited by London Scottish. He faces a club disciplinary hearing on Tuesday. Jeremy Guscott, meanwhile, has been given the all-clear to make his return for Bath this weekend. The England and British Lions centre, who's been out of the game for 6 months through various injuries, says he cannot wait to get started again. He'll play against the league leaders Newcastle on Sunday. Italy, meanwhile, have been admitted to Rugby Union's Five Nations Championship on the condition that England agree to it. At an RFU Council meeting on February the 20th, Italy's bid has already been approved by Wales, Scotland, Ireland, France and the International Rugby Board. And that's all the sport for now.
Thanks, Karen, very much. Robin Cook is going to China on Monday, his first trip there as Foreign Secretary. It'll be an important test of the government's ethical foreign policy. Mr. Cook wants to encourage more business with China, but that has to be reconciled with concerns about the country's record on human rights. Our Beijing correspondent Carrie Gracie reports now on the difficulties that ordinary Chinese people face when they try to get justice.
A brother and 2 sisters, one of them a shadow of her former self. 3.5 years ago, Fang Zhihong was beaten up by officials in her village after being accused of having babies and selling them. Ever since the beating, she's been unable to walk unable to speak. Her brother and sister are determined to bring to justice those responsible. They've gone to the county, the province, and for the past few months they've been from one bureaucracy to another in the capital. Today, the Family Planning Commission. Another fruitless journey. The Fangs were sent packing, told yet again to go home and wait for their case to be dealt with. But Fang Zhihong is no better. The men who beat her up are still at large, and her brothers lost faith in government promises of justice.
Since 1995, when we started all this, the authorities have said how much they care about my sister and promised to pursue the case, but no one's actually done anything meaningful.
Fang Wei is getting legal advice. This centre in Beijing University is one of the few places the poor can go to find out what their rights are. Here it's a daily litany of abuses by powerful people. Using the law as a means of righting wrongs is a novelty for China. For decades the courts have been controlled by the Communist Party. But now the party itself says it wants to make the law king. It's trying to strengthen a legal establishment which is demoralised, understaffed and often corrupt. Fang Wei's story is by no means the worst. This man's niece was raped by her head teacher at school, and then she died in childbirth. For people like him, the cost of legal action is prohibitive, and just finding a lawyer can be no easy task.
Especially in the rural areas or in the undeveloped regions, the number of lawyers are very limited, so they can't find out the way to access the legal service. That's a problem.
When they criticise China's human rights record, foreign governments tend to concentrate on the plight of a handful of well-known dissidents. It's harder for them to focus on the tens of thousands of nameless people who are bullied and sometimes even tortured or killed at the hands of unaccountable local officials. But in a way, it's these unsung victims who represent the worst of China's human rights problem. Fang Wei's quest for justice has got him in trouble. Officials have warned that he may find himself in jail if he doesn't shut up. If he was to disappear suddenly, there'd be no international outcry. No one would even know. Carrie Gracie, BBC News, Beijing.
Here, the British circus could be under threat from a lack of cash. A new study claims that international circus acts are better funded than those in the UK, and that Britain offers nothing to compare with them.
Juggling their creative visual art with the need to earn hard cash. This Belgian circus depends on the public support for its survival. Circus Ronaldo is taking part in the London International Mime Festival this weekend. But like most British circuses, it has to rely on ticket sales for its funding.
Because in Belgium they don't want to see that circus is a form of art, and they think it's something, yeah, okay, you can do on the market, it's nice for the public, but theatre and opera, that's the art thing.
But there are fears international circuses could threaten the future of British ones. According to a Policy Studies Institute report, top touring circuses from countries like Canada have more public money and a national circus strategy to support them.
Circus isn't particularly well state-funded in this country, and I think you'll find that's pretty much the same all over Europe, although there are splendid organisations now in this country which are starting to get support. But I think, you know, to be perfectly honest, circus has always been seen as something commercially successful.
The report says while some dream of running away with the circus, arts funders have a less romantic view and won't give freely to the cause. That's frustrating for students like these at the London Training School Circus Space.
It's such a waste. There's a real leak at the top of the circus industry in this country. People get to a certain point and there's nowhere for them to progress, so they work outside of the country or outside of the industry.
There are more than 5,000 people in the UK working in the circus. But without better funding, many believe Britain could still see the demise of one of its most innovative forms of theatre.
Now here's a rare event this week. We have a story about an animal which does not feature pigs. We often hear about unwanted cats and dogs which are given as Christmas presents and then abandoned at animal shelters, but now it seems the problem has expanded to include monkeys. A police officer in Durham has set up a monkey sanctuary because so many were rejected by their owners. John Lawrence reports.
These East African grivet monkeys are cute and friendly, and that's perhaps why some people think they're ideal pets. But once they grow up, they can become quite a handful. The original owners of these monkeys no longer wanted them, so they've ended up here, at a shelter for homeless animals near Concert. It's thought to be the first monkey refuge in the region.
We're an animal sanctuary and we take in what needs homes, and they needed a home. The problem is you get a lot of small primates that have gone into pet homes. They stay there 5 years, then they outgrow them, and once you get an adult monkey knocking around, it starts to knock your furniture about. They need homes.
The sanctuary provides a home for dozens of unwanted creatures. Lynx, llamas and emus among the larger animals. Eddie Bell is the Durham Police Wildlife Liaison Officer and is committed to caring for all sorts of waifs and strays. These meerkats have lived in a pen at the bottom of Eddie's garden for a while, but the arrival of the monkeys is a worrying development.
It's a very big problem, and it's getting worse. Even if they banned monkeys as pets tomorrow, there's still 5 years backlog of young primates that have got to grow up, mature and need a home.
If the trend continues and more monkeys end up without a home, Eddie Bell might soon be looking for larger premises for his family of animals.
Humble apology, I'm afraid. There was a pig after all in that piece. Couldn't keep it out, I'm afraid. Now, the frozen remains of a prehistoric man, believed to be the oldest mummy in the world, have been returned to Italy, ending a 6-year custody battle with neighbouring Austria. The two nations have been squabbling over the 5,000-year-old corpse since 1991, when it was found by tourists. Claire Dool reports.
It could have been a state visit for all the security surrounding the arrival of this VIP. This passenger had, however, died 5,300 years ago. His departure from Austria hadn't been without problems. His travel details kept secret for fear of inciting nationalist tensions. Battle Group 1 Tyrol, a previously unknown organisation which contests Italy's annexation of the region after the First World War, had threatened to block the convoy's passage to Bolzano. But thanks to Italian-Austrian vigilance, the Iceman made it safely to his new home, a specially built museum in the mountain town. But that may not be the end of the story. The Austrians, who nicknamed him Ötzi after the Ötztaler Alps where he was found, are concerned about him going on public display. Although he was discovered fully dressed, the Italians are to show him naked. Claire Dool, BBC News.
Now we're on our way towards 3:30 and it's time for the weather with Helen Young.
Hello. Well, by the time we get through to dawn, it's going to be rather chilly across southern and eastern Britain. A touch of frost, 0 to -1, perhaps a 0 as well in the far northeast of Scotland. But elsewhere, as you can see, those temperatures will have been rising during the night to around 4 to 5, and that's because we've got a lot of cloud, rain, sleet and snow working its way in. It's all tied in with this little fellow here, but we've got this one working in behind as well, and it means a fairly unsettled and wintry weekend, particularly for northern Scotland. Now, we are paying particular attention to northern Scotland because there's going to be a lot of snow to come during this weekend, perhaps as much as 5 to 10 centimetres, and it will drift as well in the strong winds that will get set up during Sunday afternoon. For Saturday morning then, for this morning, a generally dry, bright and even a sunny start for England and Wales. Cloudier though, with snow across western Scotland pushing its way eastwards, and then also some rain around western parts of Northern Ireland. As we go through the day, the cloud will thicken even across parts of England and Wales, just the far east holding on to some brighter weather perhaps. It should stay dry though for many central and eastern areas of England and Wales. Just some patchy rain around these western coasts, but Scotland and the north always seeing some snow. Temperatures there will perhaps only around 1 if that snow persists. Elsewhere though around 6 to 8 or 9 degrees as we come further south. As we go into Sunday, we have this area of low pressure. We've got this one as well that's going to bring some very windy weather into the south of Britain as we go through the day. So Sunday morning starting off fairly wet for many of us, still more snow to come in the north of Scotland as we go into the afternoon. That's it from me.
For millions of people, it's just another day. But for some, their lives will never be the same again.
It made us almost feel beyond being human.
Scrutinised for all the world to see.
I really learned just how powerful the media can be.
For the first time, News 24 profiles ordinary people thrust into the glare of intense media exposure. How did it change their lives? Facing the Crowd finds out. Sunday morning at 5:30 on BBC News 24 and BBC One.
You're watching BBC News 24, the latest news now at 3:30. Anti-Western protests have been taking place in Baghdad to mark the 7th anniversary of the start of the Gulf War. Saddam Hussein is expected to address the Iraqi people later this morning. The demonstrations and speech coincide with Britain's announcement that it's to step up its military presence in the Gulf. The Royal Navy aircraft carrier Invincible is to set sail for the region. There's growing anger at Iraq's refusal to cooperate with the United Nations weapons inspectors. Police in West London are investigating what they believe is another attack by the so-called Mardi Gras bomber. An explosive device was found last night near a Sainsbury's in Chiswick. Police cordoned off the area and evacuated the building. The Mardi Gras bomber has been trying to extort money from Sainsbury's and Barclays Bank by leaving explosives near their premises. The government is scrapping the policy of care in the community started by the Conservatives. In an interview for this morning's Daily Telegraph, the Health Secretary Frank Dobson says seriously disturbed psychiatric patients must be kept in secure units to protect the public. He says some people currently living unsupervised will be recalled into secure accommodation. American tobacco companies and the state of Texas have reached a record $15 billion settlement. The deal offers reimbursement for medical expenses spent by the state on its citizens who've suffered smoking-related illnesses. Texas is the third US state to reach such a settlement with the tobacco industry. Tim Henman has failed to retain his title in the Sydney International Tennis Tournament. Henman lost 7-5, 6-4 to the Slovak Karol Kuchera. Britain's number 2 had established a clear 4-love lead in the first set, only to see it slip away to Kuchera. Now on News 24, 32 minutes past 3, it's time for Hard Talk, introduced this morning by George Alagaya.